some people are ready to get this show moving. There we go. All right. Welcome to our public speaking tribute night. Thank you so much for coming. My name's Kate Frisbee. I teach a public speaking class here at Essex High School that's an elective that 11th and 12th graders can choose to take to fulfill their English requirement. So the 13 students that you're going to watch tonight all chose to do this, which is pretty amazing because I know, speaking for myself personally, in high school, I would never have put myself in this kind of situation. They've given 5 speeches this year to their class. So this, as a culminating final exam, is a great way to showcase how far they've come. And you being here is the best part because it really makes it authentic. We have become a community in the classroom and we're pretty comfortable with each other. So this is really uncomfortable. So thank you for coming and being part of that. We couldn't do it without you, literally. I don't really talk again, so each of the students will get up and they'll give a 3 to 5 minute tribute to someone in their life that's made an impact on them. And then the next student gets up and they have an index card, maybe, and I tell them that this is how you prepare to give like a best man speech or maid of honor speech or your grandmom's 80th birthday speech. These are the speeches in life that really matter, and hopefully they all will get to do it sometime. So this is a dry run. So maybe after tonight you'll want to hire them, at your next family function, all right? And so Brock was absent when we picked, so the class decided he should go first. Ooh, let's see if we can, there we go. Yep, just stay on the green.
Good evening, everybody. This is my best friend, Tanner Robbins, who I've been best friends with for the past 18 years, since the day I was born. He was actually there the day I was born. Because our family, they worked together, our parents, so we were good family friends, and our sisters were friends. So he was there the day I was born because they were helping take care of my sister and such. And we've done everything together for like the past 18 years, gone on vacation together, done countless things every day during the summer together. And when I was talking to Miss Frisbee about this last week, she said that just the time spent together, and that's not really like worth like a friendship. That's not how you can describe how it's worth. And I think I have to disagree with her on that because I think it shows loyalty, because 18 years of friendship is very hard to actually achieve. There's not many people who can say they've had one friend for 18 years. So that I think that shows like that he's really there when you need him. And this kind of shows more. I broke my femur about 6 months ago. And it was a really hard time for me because I missed out on my entire football season, which I was really looking forward to for a long time. And he helped me through that. And like I didn't realize it at the time, but him coming over every day to spend time with me and just talk to me about what was going on at football and with life. And he'd bring another one of my friends and we'd just talk and do stuff like that, which was really helpful. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I'm very thankful for that. He also likes to think he's very funny, which I can agree with to some extent, but what I didn't think was funny that he did was when I was laid up in a bed for like 2 weeks, not able to move, he'd come over, and at one point he decided it'd be pretty funny to tickle the bottom of my foot. So he started to do that. He'd come over 10, 15 minutes, he'd just tickle my foot, and I couldn't do anything about it. So what I ended up having to do was have my brother give me his airsoft gun so I could put it under my pillow, so in case he came over to tickle my foot, pull out my airsoft gun like a nuclear deterrent. He also works extremely hard, which a really good story for that is our 8th grade year, a lot of my friends started to work out and started to get into lifting, and me and Tanner were some of them. And I feel like we've kind of stuck with it more than a lot of other people have because we've had each other to fall back on. Like, if he doesn't do something, I'll make fun of him for it, and then he'll get mad. Or he'll beat me in a lift, and I'll get mad. So then I have to beat him, and he has to beat me. So it's a little bit of a friendly competition that we got going on there, which I think really helps us in like our physical and just our mental where we're going in life. Because at this point we're 18, so we got to move on now. So these are just some of the things that make me really happy to not only call him a friend, but a brother. Thank you.
Thank you for starting us off. Thank you. Noah is next.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Noah Jeter, and I'm a junior here at Essex High School. Just like Brock, I'm here to talk about one of my best friends. I'm willing to bet that everyone in here has or had a best friend that they are really close with. Today, I'm going to talk about Jacob Anders, who I've been friends with for the past 7 years. First, I'm going to talk about how we met, then a couple of his best qualities, and then more about him as a person. So how we met, we both started playing lacrosse in our fourth grade year. So our families were pretty good friends at the time, and we did carpooling together. So we became really good friends with that. And then after practices, we would hang out and became very good friends. We also joined a club team a year later where we were able to go out of state and visit other states and play tournaments together. I remember one time when we went out of state to Lake George. On our way home, we got to go to the Great Escape, and because his parents had passes there at the time, we were able to have a great time with me, my dad, him, and his dad. So now, a couple of his best qualities. They are his kindness and his dedication. So his kindness and dedication over our friendship have been outstanding, and I'm really appreciative of that. I remember one time when we were going to hang out, but my mom told me that I needed to help her with the farm share. So being a good friend, I needed to tell him that before he didn't think that, we could do anything. So I told him that, and he was like, "Can I come with you guys? Can I help out?" And I was like, "Sure, let me ask." So I asked. He was able to come with us, and we had a great time picking everything from my mom, and that became one of the outstanding qualities that I think he has. Also with that comes work ethic and his commitment. So I think that Jake is probably one of the most committed person to the sport that he loves. He loves sailing, and me and him got together, and we joined a sailing team our 6th grade year of the summer. With that, he fell in love with the sport, and last fall he was able to join a sailing team where he became one of the captains just recently and has won multiple championships out of state. I want to give a quick shout out to him because he might be able to sail in college, which I think is awesome. So even after 7 years of being friends, I am very confident that will never change. And I think that friendship is probably one of the most important things that you can share with someone in life. And I'm really glad that I was able to share it with Jake. Thank you.
Thanks. Nirmal is next.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Nirmal. It's always difficult when someone asks what my parents do. Both my mom and my dad are hearing impaired and can't communicate with their voices at all. So instead, throughout my whole life, my grandfather was the one that took care of me. Today, I want to honor his life and remember my best memories of Som Lamisane. First, his upbringing. He was born in 1951 in Bhutan, which is a country in Asia between China and India. He first got married when he was 16, and then he got married again a few years later, and those two women are my grandmothers, and I live with them now. In the 1980s, Bhutan decided to do some ethnic cleansing, and my family was forced to flee into Nepal. In Nepal, we lived in a refugee camp, and he'd split stones to build houses and also had a small farm where he'd grow vegetables in the dirt. We lived there for 19 years, and during those 19 years, both my brother and I were born there. After those 19 years, we were granted asylum into the U.S. and moved here in 2011. In the U.S., we were given unforeseen opportunities, and my grandfather worked to become a citizen while I started school. He was a tough, big, strong man, but he always liked to have fun. You'd always see him wearing that Dhaka topi, which is a traditional Nepali hat that he's wearing. He'd also always like to dress up, even if it was really hot outside or whatever. He'd always have a suit on or long sleeve shirt on like that. One of my favorite things to do with him was go to the park. When we used to live in Burlington, I'd go to Battery Park with him almost every single day during the summer. He'd walk, and my brother and I would be on our bikes, and once we got there, we'd just kick a ball around for hours, or he'd play cards with his friends while me and my brother would run around on the playground or ride around our bikes. But being a man of his experiences, he always wanted me to work hard to embrace the opportunities that I'd been given. I remember once my uncle came home from parent-teacher conferences when I was in first or second grade, and he complained that I had really bad handwriting. So my grandfather locked me in a room and made me copy down all the words from a book so that I could improve. For years after we moved to the U.S. and adapted to life, everything was great, and we were happy. But life comes at you quick. In 2017, he died of cancer of the pancreas. November 22nd is a day that I'll never forget. He had spent weeks in the hospital and had finally come home, but had shown no signs of improving. The big, strong man that I'd looked up to my whole life was now weak and fragile and a shadow of what he used to be. I remember I came down at 5 in the morning that day, and he was in the basement surrounded by all his family and friends. Everyone told me to go over to him and to talk to him, but I didn't know what to say, and I was really, really scared. But in the end, I made my way over, and he took my hand, and he told me to be a big person and always take care of my parents. He died shortly after that. He taught me that life can go downhill really, really quickly, but if you work hard enough, miracles can happen. He was forged through fire and stone and dirt as well, but to me, he'll always be the rock that supported me and showed me the way life goes. Thank you for listening.
That's pretty good. Got your card. All right, and next we have Hunter.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Hunter Driver, and this is my mom. Providing or showing creative or spiritual inspiration. This is the Oxford Dictionary of Inspirational. My definition of inspirational is my mom. My mom is an inspiration to me because she works so hard and still spends so much valuable time with me. I'm very happy to have her in my life. I've played hockey my whole life, and I wasn't very good at it when I was younger, but I went to a lot of lessons, and my mom signed me up for Dynamo hockey, which is skill sessions. I wasn't very good, so I went to this every week, but I got very embarrassed and bad at it, and but I kept going, and after one practice, I wanted to quit. And so I went up to my mom, and I said, I don't want to play hockey anymore. But she said, we don't quit. And I asked her why, and she says, if you want to get successful in life, you have to go through the discomfort and the embarrassment in life. So I kept going, and I kept struggling at first, but I went every week, and I got better and better, and that led me to make the high school hockey team as a freshman, play with prep school teams, and play the game I love. And if it wasn't for her saying no that day, I don't know where I'd be today. My mom likes to keep the house very neat. She's kind of a neat freak. And so whenever when I was younger, I'd play with my toys, either with my mom, my friends, or myself. And I wouldn't want to pick them up afterwards, so I'd just leave them out. But she'd always say it looks like a pigsty in here. And so I'd get angry when she told me to put away my stuff because I just wanted to play. But I'd pick up my toys, and I think this lesson taught me to keep my house and room clean, and I hope this sticks with me throughout my life. And whenever I'm over at my friends' houses, I'm always the one that's picking up the garbage. My mom likes to help people. I've noticed inside and outside of her job. She's a therapist, and she loves what she does. She loves to see her clients go far in life, get into college, and just be successful. And she's always telling me how proud she is of them. My mom, whenever we're out driving or on Church Street and we see a homeless person, she always wants to give them money or just ask them if there's anything we can do to help. This has taught me in life to really just help anyone in unfortunate situations as I can, just be kind to anyone I can. My mom has been an inspiration to me my whole life, and I'm very happy to have her in it. I don't know where I'd be without her, and I love her very much. Thank you for listening.
The next card. Thank you. And it's not just all boys. Here's Kayla.
Good afternoon, or good evening, sorry. I think we can all imagine a time that we wake up one morning and we feel a little off, and let's say it's just a cold or something. Then maybe the next morning we wake up again, and this time we have a weird bump or a weird headache, and we go and tell our mom. And within the next hour, my mom would be back to me with some crazy diagnosis of what could possibly be wrong with me. A brain tumor, a burst lymph node, or a parasite. Those are 3 things of the many things that my mom has tried to diagnose me with over the many years. And it's for unique reasons like that she's one of my favorite people. She's independent, very headstrong, dedicated, and creative. And she's amazing for unique reasons like that. So I would like to start off by saying that my mom is not a doctor. She's a teacher, even though she likes to call herself one. And she doesn't just do this to the people she cares about. She does this to herself too. She went through a full day of excruciating pain just to go to urgent care during COVID and be alone, to be told that her Google searches were in fact right and she did have appendicitis. She then waited even longer to get her turn to see the doctor, and then we eventually got the text in the family group chat saying that I'm going into immediate surgery. Can you please bring me a curling iron and a change of clothes for when I'm out? No fear, no panic in her text, just a strong mom trying to not freak out her family and control what she can control, which was her hair and her clothes. Now, my mom's not only this dedicated to finding the bottom of all of this stuff, she will never stop watching a TV show once she starts watching it, and she will also give everything she has to the students she teaches. My mom is a teacher, and she stopped teaching when she had me, but she never stopped subbing or being a para or being in the school, and everyone loves her there. I think that many of the people in this room know her and had her as a sub, and they know that she was tough, but she knew what she was doing and how to do it, and she would always get it done. I remember when she would be teaching in the schools that I would be in at the time, whether it was 3rd grade, 1st grade, 5th grade, I would always be so excited to go up to her room at the end of the day, and I would just hope that she would give me something to grade, because that would make me feel just like her. I would try to do the correction marks just like her, and I would use the same pen color out of her enormous pen collection. Now, my mom does not only have a huge collection of pens, she has basically any craft supply that you could think of at our house. Instead of bookshelves full of books, we have scrapbooks, so memory-filled pages with pictures that you can look through, and the best part is that I probably have 20 just to myself. My brother has more, and our family has even more that stay in the dining room. She loves to reminisce through our happy moments, through her creative side, and she doesn't only do this with me and my brother, but she makes calendars with pictures from the year before to give to my grandparents and to share with them, and she also makes ornaments from the year past with a big event in my brother and I's lives, and she makes it significant and puts it on the ornament for us to put on the tree every year. So basically to look back on my mom's life, or into my mom's life, I guess, you would just see how strong and caring and dedicated and amazing she is. And to me, that means a happy life. I think a lot of us can think that we want to learn and grow from who our parents are, and when we want to go and bring our own people into our lives and find our own future. But I am really proud to say that I have a grateful start and where I'm starting from, and I will always have the best role model to look up to. So I am very grateful for my mom. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Kayla. And next we have Balin.
Hello, everybody. You know how some birds can't see glass? Well, neither could my brother. My brother Jonah is a gifted 14-year-old boy. Today, I will be talking about the struggles that my brother has overcame during his childhood. It all started off in Florida when we first found out that he had trouble seeing. Jonah would run into stuff. Surprisingly, one morning, we walked out to the balcony. I heard a loud crack. Boom. My brother had ran full speed into a glass door. Knocked himself completely out, unconscious. When he woke up, I asked him what happened. He said, "I don't remember. I didn't see it." We all thought it was strange. But stuff like this kept happening. He kept running into doors, kept knocking himself out. And he also did some strange things like spill cups. He even made himself up a nickname, Spills. He would always make messes, always spill the cups over. And finally, my parents had just had enough. So they brought him to the eye doctor. The doctor said that he had the worst non-legally blind vision they had ever seen. So we got him glasses. Glasses helped him. So one night, or the night of getting the glasses, the sun was setting. And Jonah said something that made the whole family sad. He goes, "So that's what a sunset really looks like." And we were all like, wow, this kid never complained, never once mentioned that he had trouble seeing. He had just lived his life being almost blind in one eye. To that, I was really proud of him and really just taken back by how much of a fighter he was. He wasn't just a fighter in everyday life. He was a fighter on the court and field too. My brother is a very gifted athlete when it comes to all the sports he plays. He's always the first one on the field, first one off the field. And if someone gets hurt, either on his team or the other team, he's the first one there to pick them up. And it's not just sports that he's good at this in. Jonah has the biggest heart of anyone I've ever met in my life. My favorite part about Jonah is when he comes to me for advice, asking me stuff like, "Balin, how do I get a girlfriend?" I simply say, "I'm still trying to figure it out, buddy." I told him to ask a girl to the dance. He came home later that day, and he simply said, "She said no." I go, "Jonah, why'd she say no?" "She had a boyfriend." "Now, Jonah, why did you ask the girl with a boyfriend?" He goes, "Because I would be a better one." This is one of the many things that my brother is good at. He's a good talker, good thinker, and a good kid. Okay, one more thing. Jonah is the brother that has, I'm not going to say that. He's a peacemaker, a gifted athlete, and an all-around good person. Jonah is my brother. Thank you.
Abby, you're next. And next we have Abby.
Hello, everybody. Like most dads, my dad believes he's the funniest in the family, but I like to think that it's a tie between me and him. My dad is not only funny, or like we like to let him think, he's also supportive and an amazing friend to all. I'll get into that in a second. So I play hockey, and my dad, he very much cares about how I play, how my opportunities that I get, and he's given me so many opportunities to succeed. And recently, I found out that my coach is moving the lines around, and I didn't tell my dad before the game because I know he would be frustrated, and I didn't want to answer all the questions he was going to ask because he's like that. And as soon as the first line stepped out and I wasn't on the ice, I saw him, and he went like this. And at that moment, I knew he was very frustrated. And later, during that game, I scored 2 goals with my new line. And when I went home, I talked to my dad about why I wasn't on the line to explain that coach was just moving things around. I didn't have any control about it. And he was like, stop talking. You made me so proud the way you played, and I want you to keep playing like that. And another thing about my dad is he likes to think he is a very funny person. So every Friday night, my dad puts a solo fire out, solo stove, and he lights it up. And he texts all the neighbors in our cul-de-sac to come outside. Let's have a good night. Almost every Friday night he does this. And I constantly see him trying to be making people laugh. He's just a people pleaser all around. And we have all of our neighbors have young kids, and he's always playing with them, making sure that they're having a good time as well. My mom also always brings out toys, and my dad just plays with them. Another way my dad likes to form friendships around with people. He reaches out to people in his life, and recently, at a hockey game, he was sitting down with my friend's dad's dad and just starting a random conversation. And I look up and I'm like, who is he talking to? I have no idea who that is. Well, so going into friendship, okay, here we go. A couple years ago, my dad's best friend passed away from cancer. Said I wasn't going to cry. But before he passed away, me and my dad went over to his and his wife's house, and we started doing a couple chores for them to help them out, including mowing their lawn, and the rest of the time we were there for 2 more hours. We just sat in the living room with him and hung out with him, as seeing my dad being this supportive person in this guy's life. They were hunting buddies for many years, and till this day, my dad keeps remembrance of him around our house and still goes to a bunch of events for him. Sorry. So to end this off, in my life, I want to make sure that I'm able to carry these attributes with me and to have this amazing role model as a supportive, hilarious, and amazing friend for life. Thank you.
You did it. That's great. Perfect. Thanks. All right. Next we have Paige.
Good evening, everyone. To most people my age, grandmas are 60, 70, maybe even 80 years old. But my Nana, Mary Keefe, is forever 20 years old. Fun grandma, a nickname commonly used to describe my Nana, is a woman that has taught me about generosity, confidence, and value in the little things. Today I will be talking about how she has shaped my view on life and love. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the mental age test you can take online. It was a short questionnaire having to do with things like your favorite color schemes, interests, musical genres. I distinctly remember one weekend day where me and my family went to my grandparents' house and all took the test to compare scores. My mom, the old soul, got something around 50 to 60 years old. My dad got the wildly low score of 10 to 14 years old. And then me and my grandma getting the 19 to 21 range, and she still talks about that. We got the same score to this day. My grandma, we've always been so much alike, so that's why we've gotten along so well. My grandma would always say, could you imagine if I was one of those old, boring grandmas that just sat around and knitted? Instead, she's the type of grandma that wants to go out, laugh, make a scene, and talk and gossip with me about what's going on in my life. I always wondered if other people had the same family dynamic. My grandma may be youthful now, but she had to grow up really fast. As the oldest child of 6 and a single mother who struggled with alcoholism, she was in a parental role most of her life. By 19, she was moved out and married to my grandpa, Larry. Yes, their names are Mary and Larry, and he does have a twin brother named Gary, too, but I won't get into that. I think the reason she's so selfish is because of her childhood. She's so selfless that every time we go over to her house growing up, she has to send us home with something, anything. One time we even went home with a Costco-sized package of toilet paper because she just couldn't bear to see us leave empty-handed. She's always been one to provide and never let any of her own struggles burden anyone else. She's been through so much and still is, but it's never talked about too much. This is where I worry that she doesn't take time to take care of herself and only others. My grandma is a ray of light in any room. She likes to be known in a scene. I can count on, so it's common to say that your grandmas come to your recitals and your sports games and all of your school events as a kid, but mine did way more than that. I could count on every sports game hearing her scream bloody murder, go Paige, even when I was on the other side of the field with nowhere near the ball. We even had someone in my family on Nana duty because she was to keep her in line in the parent section. But this is the kind of woman she is. She's recognized and everyone knows her for how loving and generous she is and how loud and caring she is for everyone. She not only makes herself verbally known, but she also, I swear that at every event growing up, I could smell her perfume from an entire audience of people. One time, I quite literally told my mom, I think Nana is here. I can smell her perfume. And then there she was, turning the corner of the hallway 20 feet away. I love how bold, brave, and unbelievably funny she is. I hope she knows that how much growing up I've learned from her and how easy it is to be kind and give to other people. She goes through so much, and seeing how she can still put everyone else forward motivates me to be a better person. And I want to thank her for not only being the best grandma, but being a best friend as well. Thank you.
Nicely done. Great. And next we have Cody.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Cody. This is my grandfather, John Alexander. I'll start with his early childhood. So he was born in 1944 in Charlotte, Vermont. Grew up on a farm for his most part. He was a Marine in Vietnam, then moved to Connecticut. And then after that, down to the NEK, Northeast Kingdom. That's where I kind of started off of my childhood for the most part. That's the first part. Anyway.
All right, let's give Maddie an early start.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Where there's a will, there's a way. My mom doesn't go a day without saying that, whether it's mowing the lawn in 102-degree weather or moving a 300-pound piece of furniture. She'll find a way to do it herself. Not only is she persevering, but she is supportive, social, and hardworking. Tonight I want to talk about why my mom is so important to me and how she shaped me to be who I am today. She would drive all the way from Grand Isle to Essex to pick me up almost every night from basketball practices late at night. And she would come to every one of my games, no matter how far away it was. And I could always hear her voice through the crowd, and it made me want to work harder. Okay. Okay. And when COVID started, it was hard for both of us because we were working from home. But she found ways to show her affection when we were so isolated. One of her best qualities is her social skills. I won't ever forget the day we walked into Zoomies and the worker just started a conversation with her, and it ended with him telling her whole life story to her. She loves going to her favorite country music singer concerts, and she always comes back telling all these stories about people she met there, like the mom of the fiddle player on stage, or the family from Vermont right in front of her, or the guy that was dressed in light sticks dancing like it was a rave party. My mom is an easygoing person, and clearly other people can see that in her too. Someone once told me that you argue with the people you love the most because you know that they will still love you and support you no matter what. And I can tell you this is true because she's here tonight. And she's very hardworking. She started working at the Metro Zoo when she was 16 years old, and my family always jokes about how she knew everything about every stuffed animal in that store. And since then, she has bought her own house and puts food on the table and has raised me pretty much by herself. She has inspired me to be who I am today and to be grateful for what I have and to work hard for it. And people say I look like her all the time, and I hate it. I act like I hate it, but I actually love it because we do share the same traits, and I look just like her, I will admit. But I love how she has raised me and has made me into the person that I am today, and I couldn't thank her enough for it. Thank you.
That's awesome. Power. All right, and next we have Isa.
Hello, everyone. My name is Isa Bazan, and this is my grandmother, Teresa Montemayor. Ever since I can remember, my grandma has been a constant presence in my life. I remember going to Paul Mazza's with her when I was only 5 and picking strawberries and then running home and jumping into leaf piles. My grandma is one of the most selfless and caring people I have ever met, and by the end of this speech, you'll definitely see why. My grandmother got married and had her first child when she was only 19, and 7 years later, in 1980, she picked up her 3 kids, her entire life, and moved to America from Mexico so my grandfather could get his master's degree in industrial relations. After he did get his degree, they moved back to Monterrey in Nuevo León in Mexico. A few years later, they moved back to America so my grandfather could get his PhD, and after that, they decided to stay there. My grandmother knew that staying in Mexico would not provide the best life that she could for her kids, so she picked up her life, her job, she left behind her friends, she left everything in Mexico and moved here because her thoughts, her wants, and her needs weren't even considered because the only thing that mattered to her was her children. more than just the most selfless person I've ever met, she is so caring, kind, and patient with me when she taught me how to cook. I was 10 maybe when I started helping her in the kitchen, and I remember how she taught me how to fry masa tortilla slices and when to add eggs in salsa roja so that huevos rancheros wouldn't get all soggy. And I remember her teaching me how to fry onions in her ancient rice cooker so I could make arroz mexicana, which is a pretty simple recipe, but somehow she always made it taste absolutely amazing. Some of my truest memories of home are when I have my sleeves rolled up in the kitchen with my grandma, and she has 10 different dishes around her, and she's humming a corrido and just cutting like 10 different things at once. And she's also the only reason I survived my first time getting sick. I was maybe 11. I was in a ballet class, and I started to get a really intense pain in my stomach, and I tried to work through it, but it got worse and worse, and I just needed to go home. So my grandmother came and picked me up, and as we were driving home, I started to cry. She looked at me through the front mirror, and she said, "Stop that." I was kind of taken aback, but I tried to hold my tears and my pain in the best I could. But she just looked at me through the mirror again, and she said, "No, stop trying to hold it in. You can cry if you need to." And I just broke down. After we got home, she helped me get inside to the couch. She got me a bucket, a water bottle, and she just stayed with me as I was sweating and in so much pain. I want to end this speech with a conversation we always have, where whenever I have to leave her house, she'll give me the biggest hug, put her forehead on mine, and she'll say, "I love you." And I'll say, "I love you more." And she'll say, "That's not possible, because I love you for infinity." Every day, I'm astounded by her strength, her character, and her kindness, and the kind of woman she is, and I hope to carry these with me for the rest of my life. Thank you.
All right, and next we have Marissa. Another brother speech.
Hello, everyone. Tonight, I would like to talk to you about my brother. As most of you may not know, he is my fraternal twin. So that means we have been together since birth, every moment of every day. That might seem like a lot, a huge amount of work, but I love him to death, and I would not want anything more. Like most siblings, we are very confrontational, and we always have something to say or talk about in the car rides home, or whenever we're at work just having fun. He always has some comment for me, and that's why I love him, because he might be very quiet, and he might not say much at work, but as soon as we get in the car, we're always bantering back and forth about some random customer that we saw or some stupid incident that happened. And today, I would just like to talk to you all about what I think are his best qualities and what I think he has done for me in my life and how he's made me the person that I am today. And he might be my brother, but I love him so much. He's always been the quiet one. He's never really stood out or been the one to say something for himself. So I've always been the one to come up with something to say or fill the silence while he's just contemplating and thinking. One of my fondest memories is always, he's been just so detail driven, and one of my fondest memories is him drawing and taking the time to show me his dystopian cities or dragons that he drew, and he always came up with some story behind it that he really loved to tell me, and that got really excited. And he usually sold those for a couple bucks. I don't know who bought them or why, but he sold them, and it was just a lot of fun to have him around drawing. And me not being very good at drawing, I always took advice from him and got some stuff to to come up with. We are two very different people, though. He is always quiet, like I said, but He's got an amazing sense of humor, and he will always have an amazing sense of humor in my books. If I'm having a bad hair day, I'm going to hear about it. If I have a messy room, I'm also going to hear about it. But it has always come from a place of love, and I never take it to heart because I can throw it back at him just as much as he can throw it at me. But he will always do that because we're siblings and we love each other so much. But how I want to end this speech is I want to say I will always be there for him, even when he doesn't want me to be, or he didn't want to show up today, so even when he doesn't want me to be, I will always be there for him, and I hope that he will always be there for me, like I said.
So good. All right, Caden. So everyone has permission. If Caden's still talking, in how many minutes, Caden?
That's 5, right?
It's 5.
That's 5.
So if Caden's still talking in 6, they can just go, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, Miss Frisbee. Good evening. My name is Caden Weston, and tonight I'm going to tell you a few stories about one of my friends. You may think it's one of the 3 fine gentlemen crying, but it's actually the 30-something-year-old man kicking down their sandcastle. This is my youth pastor, Russ Joy. And he is the most caring, compassionate, intentional, inspirational, and wise individual I have ever met. Over the next 4.5 minutes, I will be giving you a glimpse of what brought me to this conclusion. I think the best place to start is the first time I realized he really cared about me. We were on the way back from one of our summer camps, and we had to have food, or money for food, on the way there and back, and I didn't have any for the way back. As we got to the place in which we were going to eat, he asked us all if we had enough money, and I said no, but I'm fine because I'm not hungry. I was lying. I was very hungry, and I was just going to let it happen. To my surprise, he came out with a sandwich for me, and although it is the worst sandwich I've ever had, I ate the entire thing because I was so grateful that he had thought of me. As I got to know him over the years, I realized this wasn't just something he did for me, but he did it for every student he had. While I'm talking about food, we used to do these things called science experiments, where whenever a restaurant would reopen or open within the community, we would have a hypothesis that that's what happened. Either it reopened or opened, and to prove our hypothesis, we would share a meal there. These meals would usually be in the form of meetings where we discuss how I'm doing as a leader within his middle school ministry, check-ins where he would just make sure I'm doing all right. There was one where I told him that I was feeling called to youth ministry as my career, and he talked to me about that over a science experiment. And the one that meant the most is when him and our worship director had a science experiment with me to comfort me after my mother passed away this spring. I couldn't drive my junior year, and I still can't, but couldn't drive my junior year, and my grandfather, who was my caregiver, would be gone all winter and spring. So Russ offered to give me rides to every ministry I was a part of, as well as a leader for. And on our way back from one of those meetings, he asked me a very shocking question. How do you stay positive as a leader when people are disrespecting you? I didn't know how to react and how to answer that question, so I asked him for some context, and he replied with, I've seen many students, leaders, and parents be very rude to you over the years, and I want to know how you deal with that. I couldn't think of any times, so I asked him for an example, and that's when he threw his previous assistant under the bus and had told me something she had said to me just days prior, but kept it anonymous. my only answer could be just ignore it and move on, as I tended to do. And he very subtly implied that that was not a good answer, and that I should figure out what the correct answer is as well. I still don't have the answer from him to this day. And that's when I realized how truly wise he was. He doesn't present as a super wise guy. In our groups, he has us launch Twinkies and squid at each other, or drag a fish through our shirts, or drink a blended up Happy Meal. And if he were to ask you a question, it would be about food or a video game for his kid. It was never that profound. So that's when I realized how truly wise he was. And that's just my perspective. Every student in his ministry will tell you completely different stories and all come to the exact same conclusion that I did. Everyone Russ has impacted loves him and has a positive experience with him. Just as I thought I was about to have another spectacular year learning and being with Russ, he announced that he was leaving to become a young adult pastor at another church. And although he is no longer an active member of my life, we still play many online games together with students from the ministry. And I'm so glad and honored to say that when I become a youth pastor in a few short years, I can only hope to be half the man he is. Thank you.
Pretty good. You made it. Good job, Caden. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming out tonight and supporting these students. We really appreciate it. The Rotary in Essex does a speech contest, and you can win $200 if you write a 5-minute speech, easy peasy, which doesn't have to be memorized, and you get a free lunch at the Essex, and you get to miss school. I mean, there are so many reasons to enter this contest. So I think when you get home tonight, you should encourage your student to partake. It's in February, and they are all qualified and would do great. So I'm hoping at least one or two of them will do it, maybe. So you volunteer Caden. Oh, see? They volunteer Caden as tribute. So thank you so much for coming out and being our audience. It's snowing. Have a safe drive home, and thanks.